Welcome to Deep Thought. Spiritual versus material relationships versus, you know what, I was thinking about that, and I touched on this really in the video yesterday when I talked about material relationships. Like, material is when you really get with somebody based on, it could be based on their looks. Hey, let's just be real. How much money they have, the fit of their clothes, even though they can change their clothes, their shoes. I'm famous for talking about shoes, but they can change their shoes, their physical appearance. And when I say appearance, I mean overall, how much money they have, even their social class. You get some people who might reject somebody because they're not in the same social class, but that's all material. When it's spiritual, it's even more powerful. It's more of a connection. It's more people will get together. They just right for each other. And that goes beyond the things of social class. It goes beyond clothes. Let's talk about that for a second. There are people who will reject somebody because they don't like their clothes, but you can change your clothes. You can change your clothes. So why? And your money, I mean, you can get somebody who's broke, but then they just change things and all of a sudden they making money. All of that is material, or where they living, or even their car they driving. They could be driving a fancy car, but some things could happen. All of a sudden they got to drive that hoopty. All of that's material. And let's be real out here. A lot of people are very materialistic as far as their relationships, but then is that really bringing a connection? See, the spiritual side actually brings a connection between the two, a real connection, a spiritual connection where they can get through stuff. Indeed, people connecting spiritually, think about it, people connecting spiritually, they might be able to get that money or that powerful thing. Like, say you have a bus driver spiritually connect with a woman who is, she's an accountant. All right, somebody would say, well, materially they shouldn't be together. They ain't in the same class. But they connecting spiritually, which means spiritually they will work with each other. And that bus driver, he might start a business where he has not just one bus, but several buses. He has a company. And that a woman who's an accountant, she all of a sudden becomes a COO. Heck, in some cases, maybe a CEO. But they're working together. They have a spiritual connection. They're able to work together. They're able to talk with each other. It's not based on artificial things, because I'm going to be real. And even though I have talked about people getting together based on class, based on their subculture, how they wearing their clothes, the style of clothes and all of that's material. Now, you need really a combination of both. But if you're talking about one versus the other, the material stuff, that can change. That can change. I remember when I was a freshman in college, and I was living in this apartment building. That building burned to the ground. I walked out of there with some pajama pants on. And it was interesting because usually I would just sleep in my underwear. But I walked out of there with some pajama pants on. I had like these polo shirts, like with a horsey, polo socks, I had to be thorough. I was looking all fly. All of that burned down. All that material stuff burned down. So you can lose the material stuff easily. You could be driving that fancy car, but that car could disappear easily. Do you want to get a mate based on your material stuff or your spiritual stuff? Because that's when it's talking more about your personality, your temperament, What type of temperament do you have? You want the person, male or female, with the right temperament that fits into yours. So it's important. Now, the material stuff is still important. And really, you should have a balance between the two, because you still need that. You still got to have material out here. You still got to deal with the world. But then if you're going to talk about verses, you need that spiritual thing to really have the relationship. Y'all need to be able to click. Y'all need to have similar broadcast. Now, remember when I was talking about broadcast a couple days ago, if you have a negative broadcast against women and she has a negative broadcast against men, I don't care how much material stuff you got, you're not going to make it. You're not going to get to that level you need to get to. And really, if y'all have the spiritual stuff, y'all have that together, you can get the material anytime. Material comes and goes. But the spiritual thing, that's powerful. See, the spiritual thing coming from when you were a child, from when you were born. And I would say you need the spiritual stuff and then you can get the material stuff. But see, you get a lot of people, they get more focused on the material stuff, ain't thinking about the spiritual stuff. But then they not getting to that higher level. And I want y'all to think about that. I want you to think about that. If you're going to have one versus the other, like I said, ultimately you want a balance of both. But if you want to have one versus the other, relationships need to be more spiritual. You need to click. Y'all need to talk with each other. Y'all need to have complementary personalities, complementary temperaments for it to really work. Because the material can come and go. You can get that. You can get that fancy car anytime. You can get that big old house. You can buy clothes anytime. In fact, the way they make clothes nowadays, you always gotta get something new anyway. Depending on the clothes, maybe in a year, maybe in a couple years, but you still have to get something new. But you can change that, and then you can lose that. Like I said, when I was a freshman in college, lost all of that stuff. Lost all of that stuff. Material can go, but spirit stays with you. Spirit is with you no matter what. So that's very important, very important, very important. It's something to think about. Like I said, ultimately, you want a balance of both. You still need the material to get through the world, but the thing, you still need the spiritual to really get along with each other. Now, if you have if you have to have either one or the other, I would say spiritual, because you can always get the material. That's the main thing. That's the main thing to get with all of this. So I want you to really think about that. And that's something to really think about. Think about it. Think about it. Like I say, material can disappear at any time, but the spiritual. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Think on this. Really think on this. And I'll get back with y'all next week. Peace and blessings.